The legendary Lakota leader Black Elk once said, "The Holy Land is everywhere." He intimately understood this sweeping land that we call Nebraska. Perhaps no other state in the Union has more natural resources critical to its future well-being. Nebraska is uniquely blessed with an abundance of water and land. We have more potential for growing food and producing energy than many states. A fifth resource, materials, is imported but readily available to us. How do we develop and conserve these resources for current and future generations? It's a question each generation must explore. Our turn has come. As Black Elk's people understood so well, we are merely the caretakers of this bounteous land and its resources. This trust is a sacred trust.
Liftoff of Space Shuttle Atlantis. Mission to build.
From the moment we saw ourselves from space, a global consciousness began to emerge about just how interdependent and vulnerable we really are. Earth and its systems are constantly changing. Some changes are cyclical and familiar. Others are propelled by human ingenuity. Others still are altogether unpredictable. In many respects, the world is changing faster than we can learn about it. These changing patterns require new ways of thinking about our home and its challenges. Three overriding pressures stand out among the many we encounter daily: population growth and migration, human consumption, and climate change. The exponential population growth of humankind taxes the Earth's capacity to support our species. Today, there are more than 23 megacities exceeding 10 million inhabitants. By 2025, there will be a total of 37 megacities, as compared to only 2, New York City and Tokyo, that existed in 1950. Increasingly, the quality of life in our cities will be synonymous with quality of life generally, and yet we've never been more dependent upon the continued success of rural America. Our rural communities provide the natural resources we depend on, not only for food, water, and energy, but also for our forests, recreation, and national character. The connection between rural Nebraska, its communities, and the world's megacities cannot be understated. Where there are cities, there is great demand. This demand knows no boundaries. It has critical bearing upon our state's natural resources, its agriculture, and its people. Worldwide, population growth and developing markets drive local economies and redistribute the bounties of our agrarian communities. Over 1/4 of Nebraska's economy is tied directly to the export of resources generated by its robust industrial agricultural complex. Conservative estimates of current consumption habits suggests that it now takes the Earth 1 year and 6 months to regenerate what we use in a year. By 2050, it is projected that humanity will require the equivalent of 5.3 Earths to provide the resources we use. And yet, not all resources regenerate. Even those resources that are renewable may not regenerate quickly enough to keep pace with demand. Precious metals and fossil fuels are routinely wasted, even as they become increasingly difficult to extract from the Earth. Not coincidentally, the extraction and use of these resources contribute to climate change. 2012 was the 9th hottest year ever recorded on Earth. Of the 9 hottest years, 8 have occurred since the year 2000. Here in Nebraska, climate change is already impacting our growing season. For now, lengthening it. The advantage this confers may prove temporary. It is anticipated that within a few decades, the nation's breadbasket will be prone to migrating growth seasons, extreme droughts and flooding, capable of disrupting global food supply. These are global questions with local solutions. They are questions facing Nebraskans across the state.
We've never wrestled with. We've never had that open dialogue, and I think that's the whole education that's out there of, what are we accepting? What are we willing to like, to want, to desire? And I think that could then inform county zoning, and we could have a roadmap to what is sustainable Nebraska, and I don't have any idea.
How do we gain the best opportunity in the broadest public interest for appropriate stewardship of that resource, whether it's water or land? How do we consider all of the environmental, economic, and social values with the public interest?
There's that other saying that in the end, we conserve only what we love only what we understand, and we understand only what we're taught. That's why education's essential. That's why conversations and dialogue like this are absolutely essential to understanding systems better, to manage them better.
Between 2007 and 2012, the Joslin Institute for Sustainable Communities convened a series of workshops and conferences across the state, asking Nebraskans how they can best develop and conserve our land, water, energy, food, and material resources. These conversations revealed that Nebraskans are deeply concerned about the continued availability and quality of fresh water, clean air, inexpensive energy, accessible food, and the biodiversity of our native species. We also learned that most Nebraskans are accustomed to seeing resource challenges as isolated, single-issue problems.
I'm so occupied with water and geology that systems thinking is a tough challenge for me. And I think that's probably part of sustainability, effectively thinking of interconnected systems. To me, that means a better understanding of the interconnectedness of the 5 areas we've talked about, so that we're not all isolationist by topic, but we're versed in all these things.
To meet the needs of current and future generations, we must view these resources in a systems context. The Joslin Institute has identified 5 system domains: environmental, socio-cultural, technological, economics, and public policy. Conventional models of development focus primarily on the economic consequences, with less regard for the other domains. Any design solution or development strategy focused solely on economics will not be sustainable. Such a framing not only fails to acknowledge other human needs, but also fails to address the capacity of our environment to provide the resources to meet those needs now and into the future.
If we exclude the environment, if we exclude technology, And if we exclude ourselves from being responsible for the public policies, then we're making a huge mistake that will gradually roll over to the next generation, let alone 7 generations, as being a negative consequence. Unintended consequences, mostly. But we seem, if we believe in sustainability at all, then I think we're forced into dealing with all 5 of those areas simultaneously. Not one to the exclusion of the other, but one to the benefit of whatever the problem setting and the context and the circumstance is that we're trying to discuss.
Accommodating growing populations and preparing for a secure, renewable energy future must not be accomplished at the expense of paving over the prime land we need to feed ourselves. How do we balance competing uses? Which policies stand in the way of solutions? Thinking in terms of the 5 domains can help us answer these and other questions.
My opinion is that we live on a finite planet. My worldview comes kind of that we do have limits. There are limits to this planet. Technology has done phenomenal things. I do not believe that technology will solve all of our problems. It can solve some of our problems.
Each of these 5 domains has the potential to either facilitate or obviate solutions.
Concern I have is how much land is being gobbled up for unproductive reasons. Concrete, housing development, urban sprawl. We have 6.7 billion people on the face of the earth today. In 40 years, it's going to be closer to 9 billion. We're not making any more land. You know, that top 6-8 inches of Earth's crust is what sustains humankind, what nourishes humankind. And if it's gone, if it's depleted, if it's gone, we have a big problem.